Another ex took the stage in the obsessed ex-boyfriend murder trial. On Monday, Sadie Beacham was called to the stand by the prosecution to testify against the father of her children, defendant Zachariah Anderson. Beacham and Anderson share 3 children, but when their relationship ended, prosecutors believe Anderson killed Rosalio Gutierrez Jr. in a jealous rage after finding out that Beacham was dating Gutierrez. The relationship between Beacham and Anderson was fading in 2019. And according to her testimony yesterday, Beacham started dating the victim in May of 2020. Now, on direct examination, Beacham was asked about the final stages of her relationship with the defendant and where things stood in 2019.
What was the status of your relationship with the defendant romantically during 2019?
It was very tumultuous in 2019. It was not, we weren't doing well. It was, it was a relationship on its way out.
What was the nature of the discussion you had with him regarding how you were going to be moving forward together?
So he reached out to me, and I agreed to have a conversation with him, but only outside in my driveway. And so we had a conversation, and in that conversation, I expressed to him that I was done with the relationship and that I did not see it being repairable at that point, based off of what had happened. So I kind of made it clear and wanted to kind of figure out, what something agreeable for the kids, like to see the kids, because that's ultimately what he wanted. So I was thinking that was fine to come up with something to do with the kids, but I was done with the relationship.
Joining us now to discuss this case that we are watching closely there in Kenosha, Wisconsin, from Orlando, Florida, jury consultant and human behavior expert Susan Constantine, and in Magnolia, Texas, homicide detective Phil Waters. Thank you both for being on today, talking about this case with us. Susan, I want to start with you. The state chose to wait till the middle, towards the end of their case in chief, to call Sadie Beacham to the stand. She seemed like a really strong witness, but tell me some of the things that you were picking up on from her testimony, having to relive this tumultuous relationship.
Yeah, so this was the impact juror, right? So this is the one that's going to kind of seal the deal about, showing the past history of his stalking behavior. And when you're watching her demeanor as she's telling the story, she brings you in. I thought it was very powerful when she was talking about his behavior around it, and she actually had to end this relationship. You could see this dartingness in her eyes roaming around because she's literally trying to recall all of these events. It's like replaying a tape, and it's causing a tremendous amount of anxiety. I thought that her testimony was very good. I thought that she was very believable, and I also enjoyed watching the defendant as she was testifying. Oftentimes he would his shoulders would go down. You could see some smirkiness that was coming about on his face that would fleet across. So he, of course, obviously is disagreeing with what she's saying, but you can see his expressions right here that he doesn't have an expression. He's kind of like that deadpan look. But when you roll the tape and you watch him throughout, you can tell when he's disagreeing with her because he'll shift his body language. He'll sink, his head will actually sink inside of his shoulders, and also he'll smirk sometimes on the corner of his mouth.
We're going to get to more of how he reacted, specifically certain text messages that the prosecution read that were his own words, but that's in just a moment. Phil, I want to talk to you about just how tragic this case is, because we have these domestic type cases and we see it too often where there's a tumultuous relationship. She said that she was afraid of him. She told him that she was afraid of him, but they still had to maintain this relationship because of the 3 children that they shared together. How often do you see cases that seem to mimic what happened here?
Well, good morning, Julia. Good morning, Susan. These happen all the time. There's nothing uncommon about this particular type of case when you have a a defendant, a suspect that is obsessed with the relationship, doesn't think that anybody else deserves or should have that relationship with that person. And so this is the ultimate result is he's gone and found the person that she has a new relationship with. He's not going to have that. And so he's going to do what he needs to do to dispose of it.
And the question is, will the prosecution be able to prove it? Because there is not the link, the direct evidence link between him going there. But Sadie is a really important piece of this. And she really brought the jury there through the text messages that were read during her testimony through the prosecution. And I want to play some of that. And also, Susan, I want to get your take on how he looked, whether or not he was showing some connection or emotion hearing his own words in court. Let's take a listen.
Then at 2:24 a.m., do we then have text messages from him involving chasing that bump from a new someone every week and not having the kick in the stomach must be nice. 2:27 a.m., us without jealousy is great though. 2:28 a.m., him, I will always wish we would have done everything to fight that instead of give up. 2:41 a.m., you know that feeling you used to get when you would look at your phone and it had a message from me? 2:46 a.m. from him. Got all drowned out throwing hurtful words back and forth. 2:54 a.m. Got smothered to death in all the ugly messages that you held on to. 2:57 a.m. And it isn't wrong to make mistakes. It is wrong to fail to learn and improve. There is a happiness in that. 2:58 in making improvements and doing things better. 3 o'clock. I am just not yet seeing that I would want to try for anything better with anyone else but the mother of my kids and the only real something I ever found in life. 3:02. For me, I always find forgiveness for the ugly because the special moments really wrote themselves on my heart.
Susan, we know the jury is likely watching this defendant. What are you seeing when you hear him, or see him rather, hearing his own words?
Yeah, it's really interesting here, Julie, because he's a really high emotional individual. You can see it in his facial expressions. So he's pondering back with those moments, recalling what he had said, those moments, and he's tapping into those emotional moments. And you could see the disappointment. One corner of his mouth would go down. This is sadness, but it's also unilateral. And when you have a unilateral, it's combination of there could be contempt and disbelief and also sadness. So it's like a combination. But when you couple that too with his eyebrows, sometimes will pinch together, turn down, that is also in sadness. So I think that this guy has a real issue with emotional control, as we know. But I mean, you can literally see it on his face as you're hearing his own words being spoken. Right there, that's pondering. He's thinking back. You can see the lip pouching. It's actually called chin box. So he's actually thinking and pondering back in time.
The timing of these texts is May 13, 2020. That's just 5 days before the disappearance of Rosalio Gutierrez, and would have been many, many months after the witness on the stand, Sadie Beacham, said that the relationship was over, that it ended in 2019. So he's still texting her early in the morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Phil, I'm going to ask you, this is a difficult case for investigators and prosecutors because they were never able to find a body. The way that they are able to put this all together really hangs on what Sadie Beacham told them and what they're able to see in the escalation from some of these text messages. What are some of the challenges? I know it's not impossible to prosecute a case, obviously, when you don't have a body, but what are some of the key things that you do still have to have?
Well, no body cases are pretty tough. I've had a couple myself, and it all goes to the evidence. The evidence has to lead you where you need to be, and it's always a journey for the truth. In this particular case, they've got so many affirmative links that would indicate that there's no other answer except for the fact that Mr. Gutierrez has been murdered and his body has been disposed of. So there's they have enough evidence here that is going to allow them, and that's what they're doing, to prosecute a no-body case.
A challenging one, but they are going forward trying to get justice for Rosalio Gutierrez.